Live from Studio 3, this is Packaging Today with Evelio Mattos, Adam Peak, and Cory Connors.
Everybody, thanks so much for joining us. We got a lot of stuff going on today. It is Monday, October 24th on Packaging Today. If you're not familiar with who I am Evelio Mattos. I host Packaging Unboxed podcast, and we've got Adam Peak, Cory Connors, and a whole crew live from Pack Expo.
That's right. We've brought the noise.
Yes.
We brought the funk.
The funk is always here.
The funk never dies. Yeah.
Speaking of the funk, you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah.
Danielle, you first.
All right. Hi, I'm Danielle Goad. I'm a strategic program manager at SpecRite.
And I'm Mikey Prosciutto. I am, let's just say, co-founder at Scrap Recycling. That's kind of what I do.
Nice.
We're live here from Pack Expo, the SpecRite booth. So it's an exciting show. It's been incredible. 1.2 million square feet and 40,000 of our closest friends.
That's right.
Wow.
The packaging nerds have united. By the way, if you're watching this and you're at the show, then why are you watching? Why are you watching this on LinkedIn? I don't know. Maybe you haven't made your way over here. You had a late night, right? It's what time is it? 9. It's 9:30. You got a little bit of forgiveness. But we're at LU
Lakeside Upper 6730.
Lakeside Upper 6730. They've got some pretty killer swag, so come check out
It's like a fishbowl here.
Yeah.
SpecRite. Yeah, it's at first we were like LU is lower upper.
Yeah.
That's not what it is.
Awesome.
We
So, first off, like we always like to kick this thing off, we'd love to know where you're watching from. If you can just tag in the comments where you're watching from. We get people from India, from the UK, from Australia, from all over the US. So first, guys, you're at Pack Expo. Where is Pack Expo happening for anybody that's not familiar with the event?
Well, it's in Chicago, and Cory and I just were in the media area, and I met Pierre, who's part of the World Pack. He's the president of the World Packaging Organization. And he told me that they have a board of 65 members representing 65 different countries. And he's like, yeah, she came from Lebanon and she's here from Brazil. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. So we're here in Chicago, but it truly is an international gathering of people here because packaging is global.
Yes.
And packaging is for the children.
It's like Wu-Tang. We always say that.
Yep.
It's important to know. But it's been the most impressive packaging show I've ever been to. Every turn, every corner is something new, something interesting, something innovative in the packaging world. You're seeing a lot of buzz around sustainable packaging, which makes me very happy as the host of Sustainable Packaging Podcast.
Wow.
And an actual buzz.
Yes, there's
Coming
literally
from some
buzzing.
place right around us. There's an actual buzz.
Sorry, if you heard
A
that.
literal buzz.
It's actually
Nice.
kind of funny because of all the industrial equipment around. I had my Bluetooth headphones and listened to music, and it was cutting in and out. It's
Yeah.
like this.
The buzz
It's called
is
like
coming
yeah.
in.
Basically, the buzz is coming in, and it's like there's this crosstalk phenomenon where we used to actually, when your car would drive, you'd actually tune your car radio because they never knew that like signals could talk to each other until like 2004.
Yeah.
They thought everything just did their own thing. So that's why we're hearing that buzz because it's actually talking to the headphones.
Wow.
See, look at that. See, not only are we packaging nerds, we're audiophile nerds. But
I
we're
have
buzz
to use my
nerds.
engineering degree sometimes.
Yeah.
Nice job, Mike.
That's cool, guys. So we're getting a lot of people coming in across the U.S. We got actually Seth, who's at booth 6165, and Kelly, Augustine, and I are both sharing major Pack Expo FOMO.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
miss you, man.
You got to come say hi to Seth. Seth, I owe you so many things: phone calls and email returns, and also a booth visit. So you're in, what was it?
6165.
Booth but where though?
Yeah.
Lower, upper,
Yeah.
upper.
You're missing a letter, sir.
Yeah.
We need to know more specifically. I don't know how many booths there are.
A lot. It
Yeah.
takes like 25 minutes to get from the south building to like the
Look, there's
the
Matthew
Lake Harbor
Wright.
building.
Hi, Matthew
Wow.
Wright.
Mr.
Awesome, guys.
Matthew.
So we typically go through a few different segments on the show. Yeah, we got Hugh coming in with FOMO as well. I think we're all feeling this FOMO, right? And
Oh,
Seth
Seth's
is coming.
in Nashville. So,
No, he's from Nashville,
oh, he's from Nashville.
I
Oh, so-
think.
Seth
Now we're
is just-
confused.
He's like at the booth at like the
Yeah.
restaurant. He's like,
That's right.
they just, I'm at a booth in Nashville. Like, that
He's at
doesn't
the
help.
he's at the Waffle House.
Yeah.
I didn't know they numbered those, but okay, we'll be there.
Nice. All right, I just want to cover some quick packaging news, then we kind of jump into some stuff we got going on. First off, I'm going to share my screen here. So can you guys, while I'm pulling this up, Danielle, tell us about what you're working on and what you're doing.
Yeah. So I am on the strategic partnerships team for SpecRite. And so one of my big categories and why I'm really excited to be at the event is academia. So I own all of our academia partnerships. I think we're at 11 universities now,
Wow.
both, in the US and internationally, which is exciting. We've expanded to Australia and to Canada. And so it's great to, one, get to be in person and actually see everyone, see all the students, see the faculty, alumni, right? And so I see some students right out there right now. But
there's over 1,000 college students here.
Yeah, which is great. And they put on, PMMI does a great job of doing all the events. I did Cal Poly San Luis Obispo packaging program. So
Go Mustangs.
Yeah, go Mustangs. So it's always, fun for the students to come here and get to see all the machinery, right, at all the different booths and I'll talk to all the people in person. So
And you had a big announcement yesterday.
we did, yes. We announced our MSU partnership that we just formalized, which is really exciting. It took some months, and we've been working with them for years. So it's nice to, put a donation in. We're going to work on the computer lab redesign over the next few months and hopefully launch over Christmas break. We're going to send our crew in there, and hopefully it's done by the next year.
That's amazing. And the color scheme, right? You got the color scheme makes sense.
Yeah,
is it going to be like the SpecRite computer lab? Or
So it's the SpecRite computer lab.
Okay.
How they have obviously the whole new packaging school being done. So the computer lab is outside of that. So that'll be like redesigned, and it's going to tell kind of the granular spec story. It's connected to one of their machinery labs. So our vision right now is to, talk about how it'll move from like the machinery to the design, right? And the flow of the data, and have some customer stories and some products and things like that. So
Great.
That's awesome, man.
There's a huge group of students here this year, and it's really exciting to see. I met some students from Clemson yesterday. If you haven't checked out their booth, it's amazing. They made these huge corrugated sculptures that I was like,
they're safari
really
themed, right?
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. It's not just important for students to come to these shows. I think it's great for designers as well. You don't get a lot of designers going to Pack Expo. It's typically more industry, but I think as a designer, it's really important to come in and see the equipment and the new software, everything that's happening on the back end besides what's happening on your screen with Adobe and RDOS and that type of software. I was like,
By the way, one of the students that was out here, I wish I could show it to you, but their bag, their like little tote bag, says anti-hand packaging club, and it's in the same font as the anti-social social club stuff. I was like, oh, that's genius. Come back.
Adam's like, can I have one?
They've left. I need one.
It's funny. So just real quick, just some packaging news while we kind of typically go through our packaging posts. We got this coming across the Wall Street Journal this morning, which was, people are freaking out over Lego's new packaging. If you were buying any of these collectible figurines, you would become an expert at like feeling through the plastic to feel what character it was and which was the most, which was the rarest. They've changed it. Now they're doing, recycled and recyclable boxes for each of these figurines. So you can't squish them anymore.
Oh, that's brutal.
And the people, the people are mad
This
that we went to a paper.
People are people are pissed that we're going to paper because you can't squeeze it. You can't like feel through the plastic like what the shapes are.
You know what? Suck it up. That's what I say.
That's like the McDonald's, like when you were a kid and you didn't want the same McDonald's toy.
Yeah.
You don't know what
Exactly.
to surprise.
Yeah.
You gotta earn it. You gotta try.
Yeah, nuts. But while we're on here, while we're sharing the screen, I'd love to kind of go through the post of the week. Adam, what's the post of the week jingle?
What's the jingle?
Yeah.
You're packaging today with Cory Connors, Evelio Mattos, and Adam Peak. Now is the time for the post of the week.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, that was awesome. Amazing.
Post of the week.
Very special post of the week.
Yeah, we nailed it. It needs some work. We gotta.
I want to share this post here today, which is it's actually from Fred Hart, and he was at the Die conference in New York not too long ago. Fred Hart's with Interact Design out of Boulder, and he kind of goes down the list of like what he learned at the Die conference. It's a big focus on no plastic packaging. There's plastic free world, which is part of Andrew Gibbs and Sean Sutherland. Explain kind of just some breakdown on how much plastic there is in the soil, what's happening in terms of how plastic is polluting the planet, and kind of breaking down some things that explain how to different brands and kind of things that you can do to help. The one thing, and as having been a part of the Die for many years, the challenge I think is as a brand, to go out there and say how bad plastic is in terms of packaging and not knowing all the different materials, but then also having the Die website, which promotes a lot of plastic packaging, makes things kind of challenging. But I thought this was really interesting in terms of a post. You can check out Fred Hart on LinkedIn. Look at this post. He has a lot of good information on here. So somebody who's a great follow for sure.
Fred's awesome. I mean, Valerie's a little bit cooler, Valerie Hawks, but Fred's okay too.
Yeah, Fred's all right.
He's all right.
There is a push-pull going on with packaging right now, and I think people are confused, and people are taking hard stands when maybe they shouldn't, and people are being too lenient when they shouldn't. So there's definitely a place for all materials right now.
I just feel like maybe we need to put more plastic in the ocean so that the fish can eat it.
It's about time, start doing that.
I think Sheen's got you covered on that one.
Okay, all right.
He's kidding, of course.
I'm totally kidding. Totally joking.
Yeah, that goes back to an interview that I had with Krista Armit, who said that plastic is actually non-toxic and absorbs toxins. So if fish eat plastic, it actually pulls the toxins out of their body, and then when they defecate, it clears their body. So it's actually better for fish that there's plastic in the ocean.
So now it's like high in fiber is what you're saying.
Yeah, which was like the most horrible thing ever, but it's on record. You can find that episode.
Microplastics are high in fiber.
Yeah.
New marketing slogan. Actually, the best one that I heard in genuine seriousness was we were on a panel and there was someone from like Plastic IQ, I think it might have been. Yeah. And their quote was, it's actually bad to design more lightweight packaging when it comes to plastic, because when it ends up in third world countries, it's not heavy enough or worth enough for them to pick it up.
Wow.
Which we like, my colleague Ev was on the panel and he like literally like you saw him spit take like on camera. He said, did you just say what I think you said, man?
Oh my gosh.
So we all just kind of had to like smile at each other like, is this guy serious? Like, did he mean that? So your goal of your packaging is not to end up in a developing nation.
You were waiting for the. Just kidding, guys. Just kidding. You keep light waiting. It didn't happen.
Oh, he steered right into it.
He just stayed on it.
Yeah. Oh god.
Yeah. Well, I know Mikey had an interesting kind of piece of packaging news.
Yeah.
That we were talking about before we got on the show, regarding the very stable UK government.
Yes. Yeah. This is not about Liz Truss getting outlasted by, I think it was a Greg's head of lettuce. As funny as that is not packaging news. They actually, so they recently put up a bottle bill, and consumers, had a lot of backlash about it. So they postponed the bottle bill until their EPR legislation comes into place. So now the UK is trying to expedite extended producer responsibility in the country, so they get a better understanding of what packaging they do and don't want, and then they're going to probably go through and add deposit schemes to them where they actually have an accurate price as to what costs what.
Yeah,
it's excellent. A lot of confusion in the UK.
Yeah, Mikey, can you explain just a bottle bill for anybody that's listening that might not be familiar?
Sure, I can kind of explain both. So bottle bill has traditionally been where, so we have them in Massachusetts. I know, like Cory, you were saying Oregon was the first state to have them. So it's basically when you put a deposit, a 5-cent deposit or a 10-cent deposit on a bottle or can for your drinks, and then you return them to a machine and you get that deposit back. The issue with it is that it's always been consumer facing, and then it's also been paid by the consumer and hasn't grown with inflation.
Right.
So 5 cents. It's been 5 cents in Massachusetts since like 1980. If you add it grow for inflation, it'd be about 32 cents now. Which
Wow.
I'm sure, as we're seeing now with record high inflation and people being restricted on budgets, the last thing they need is 32 cents a can on a 12 pack of Coca-Cola. Like that's more than the Coca-Cola sells for at this point. So that's why a lot of people haven't updated their bottle bills, is they're kind of waiting for EPR to come into place, which that extended producer responsibility, for those who don't know in the audience, is where now brands have to pay into the styles of packaging that they choose to use based on the impact, cost of disposal, shelf space, etc. Like a lot of key factors decide what your EPR rate is.
Wow.
So now that bottle bill might actually be paid by extended producer responsibility instead of by a consumer paying a deposit at Market Basket when they buy something to drink.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, any time you can take pressure off the consumer and put the responsibility back on the brand makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. It's going to really change.
Hey guys, I got
design as a whole.
actually have to go jump on a call for my work job that I just came over.
What? You got a work job?
I know, but it's crazy. But I'll be milling around Pack Expo. We'll be doing some live stuff. I mean, you guys can keep having a lovely chat, but
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna leave.
Thank you.
All right. So
Okay,
anybody that's watching, make sure you follow Adam Peak and see what's going on Pack Expo. He's gonna share, and if you see him walking down Pack Expo, just tackle him.
And I have a wig. I brought my wig, so I'll be wearing.
I
I'll be rocking
convinced
it.
him not to wear it for the show. Really.
Oh,
It's gonna
man.
happen soon. All right.
All right.
See you guys.
Can't wait. See you, bud. So with EPR and like a bottle and the bottle bill, for example, does that play into spec right? Is there anything that happens on the spec right end that can help kind of direct a brand in that way?
Yeah, definitely. So we actually just announced our partnership with Lorax, and Lorax is the leading software for EPR reporting and compliance. And so we're still kind of looking at what the integration, I guess, will be. But there's a lot of companies out there right now starting to understand that they need maybe a software or someone else to help them with the reporting, because it's so different for every country, right? Every rule is different. Right now,
So confusing.
the states, right, at least how it's going right now, every state has even their own rule. It's not like the U.S. is even deciding on one rule. And so there is a lot of data, within SpecRite that needs to be reported for EPR reporting. And so we're, looking at ways to partner and give that kind of holistic solution for the customers and able to do the reporting for the different spots.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
I think a lot of brands are stymieing right now. What do we do? Oh my gosh, it's a lot of fear. Yeah, and I think SpecRite solves a lot of problems. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's just like it's a lot of regulations for one individual to learn, right, at a company, and it's a lot to keep track of and stay up to date with and make sure it's right, all in the correct format and everything. And so I think partnering with someone like Lorax and giving them the responsibility to keep up to date with all the trends and what's on the news is takes a lot of pressure off the brands.
Very important.
And it's along EPR too, especially for brands. Like it ultimately depends on like where you distribute to as well, because that's radically going to change like the EPR calculation. If a portion of that calculation is due to recyclability, recycling in Texas is horrible. No offense, Texas, it's bad. But where recycling in Oregon, it's really good. So like the recycling rate they pay in Texas is probably higher because they don't have the infrastructure to do it. Right. While that recycling piece is lower in Oregon, but I imagine Oregon, in their typical fashion, would probably have a higher EPR rate in terms of like education and other pieces, while Texas might have a lower rate there. So it's not like one flat rate. You have to think of EPR in the United States as 50 different countries having 50 different legislations, which is what they're trying to avoid, just to not have confusion. Because if you're a global brand, you're going to adhere to California's policy, which is going to be the most stringent. Right. Over doesn't matter if Texas's is less. Like, sure, you might pay less taxes there, but you're going to have to adhere to California on everything you do.
Great point. I'm heading on.
I'd break it down even. Sorry, I'd break it down even further. It's not just 50 countries. Like in California alone, each city has its own regulations. It's like we're a mess.
For sure.
Yeah, it's reaching that point where everybody's kind of scratching their head with recycling. It's like, well, we can't have a national message because even pizza boxes can't get recycled correctly in terms of like that really depends on where you are. So if we can't even get a pizza box right, how are we going to get a complicated legislation of EPR correct? And it's just, you're going to have to leave it up to locales to handle it. You can't have it be national. It would just be a huge mess if we did it that way, because some areas would be underrepresented, some areas would be way overrepresented. It's just really tricky.
I agree. On Wednesday, I'm heading to the Association for Oregon Recyclers, and they're working hard to come up with all the finalized new recycling laws, which, like Mikey said, I think whoever comes up with the most stringent rules is what the rest of us will just kind of have to follow. It seems like because they don't want you don't want 5 versions of packaging. You don't want 6 SKUs to accommodate different states.
Yeah, for sure. I know at the moment I'm working with a couple of brands that are global, and they're like, we just want packaging that functions worldwide. We don't want to have to do packaging for Japan, packaging for Korea, packaging for the US, and they're like, we just want to do one buy across all channels.
Good.
And it's like, okay, do you realize what kind of labeling that requires?
Yeah.
What kind of materials we're talking about, how to simplify this. And it's a good thing to try to simplify it for everyone. But just from a labeling standpoint, like, if however many languages we're doing it in,
Right.
if we're going to Quebec, for example, it's got to be same size in English and French. If you're going to, if it's in Finland, I think there's like 3 languages that have to be on there. All of a sudden you have like a book worth of, please recycle. Like it is
Right.
insane.
Yeah, we're going through that issue right now where we're adopting, I think, German, French Canadian, Spanish, Latin American, and like Spanish, European Spanish. And the way the app UI is set up is that sometimes you'll get overflow, because like German's a very long language in terms of their phrases.
Right.
So like where we thought it'd just be a simple plug and chug, switch everything out, but now we're finding that things are just overflowing when you would switch languages. So we're going to have to get creative there. It's not easy to just change a label or change a phrase. Like it adds up quick.
It certainly does. Is there anything on the Pack? I'm sorry, on the Pack Expo. I just saw Brandon Gomez saying enjoy Pack Expo. Is there anything on the spec right side that handles some of this regulation? Or I know that's something you're working on, but is that existing at this point?
When I think of labeling for SpecRite, I think of just kind of like the architecture and how it allows for what you're talking about. So if there's going to be 6 different labels for all the different languages for a particular bottle, let's say, how the architecture within SpecRite is set up is so that you don't have to create 6 unique packaging SKUs with the 6 unique labels. It's more that you can tie multiple labels to one SKU. Because why create the clutter in your system and the duplicated bottles that then you have to update all 6 of them anytime you want to change the label. So I think the architecture really allows for you to have this SKU consolidation and know what you're updating appropriately with all those different regulations.
Streamline. Yeah.
That's awesome. What do you got as we're kind of wrapping up here? What do you got going on the rest of the day? What's happening at Pack Expo today? What are you excited about?
So many things. Yeah, there's. I think I'm excited. There's some student challenges going around that maybe Danielle you can speak to. There's like.
Yeah, they do. I forget exactly what the name of it is, but PMMI. It's like some type of scavenger hunt, and so they're like supposed to go to these different booths and find different things throughout this whole complex. They probably walk like 10 miles to find all the booths. But yeah, they go on a scavenger hunt. This is my day 1, so I'm just excited to be at the booth for SpecRite for the day, and then probably walk around to the academia events and whatnot.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Mikey, anything you're excited about?
Well, I kind of came here on a whim. I was a last minute addition, so I was actually originally supposed to. We had a new software deployment, so we can actually put like scrap on an iPad, and it's like a separation station.
Oh wow!
So I was gonna walk around with a sign like on my front that said, "We even made his backpack recycle correctly," and have scrap strapped to my backpack.
Oh my gosh!
But I decided not to at the last minute, just so TSA would not really question me about what's in my backpack.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I'm just going to be walking around learning. I know there's like a refill reuse expo. Like I know we're in that area, but there's actually like kind of TED Talks going on today. And there's a few other interesting events. I got to learn about machinery and just see how all that works. So it's just kind of a nice spot, even if you're not in like specifically packaging, like Evelio said, like you're in design, or I'm just in recycling, which is not here at all that much. We just kind of talk about it. It's great to go around and see what everybody else is doing, so you can kind of keep ahead of the game and design ahead of time for it.
Yeah, I feel like that's like the biggest value of getting to attend Pack Expo. Everyone is in their own area of packaging, and so it's so great to go around and like learn, especially being in like technology. It's so funny, like having all of our sales reps, right, go and get to actually see the machinery that customers use. I think there's huge value in just exploring the whole area.
Also, the cost of attending is really low. Like I know other things like Waste Expo and other conferences can be quite expensive, but Pack Expo does a really good job of like if you just want to get in the door and learn, it's like $30. Like it's not a lot.
Wow, that's awesome. And then just real quick, Mikey, you got Scrap. So tell us what Scrap is, how people can get it, and why they should use it.
Sure. So basically, Scrap, it's a free app that allows you to scan the barcode on the back of any household item and decide if it's recyclable or not based on your location. Because all the time we hear like, oh, it's recyclable. Like there's a difference between materiality in terms of recyclability, which you really can't deny that. Like if at a chemical level, you can repurpose it and reuse it. Like it's recyclable, but that doesn't mean it goes in your curbside bin. Same with composting or any of those things. So we actually, I don't even want to say like we cut through greenwashing, but we very much organize like what is materially recyclable and what is actually accepted in a recycling system. So if you have curbside, multi-stream, communal recycling, transfer station, we tell you where things can go and why. And it's just as simple as you scan the barcode within 2 seconds, you get results, and it breaks it down by like bottle, cap, label. And now we're actually doing custom recycling programs for offices. So recently we did a trial with National Grid, and people who use the app or the separation stations, which is the iPad at the bin, reduced personal contamination by 93% and an increased recycling engagement by I think 82%.
Wow.
So we can really make it. It's people. We found out people really do want to recycle. It's just they don't know how.
Yeah,
And
it's super complicated.
Even when we're here, like we're finding areas where there's 3 bins in one spot, 1 bin in one spot, 2 bins in another spot. And if you go to have bins being consistent, how are you going to expect people to recycle correctly? And that's kind of the problem we're tackling.
Wow. And so that recycle station is basically like an iPad. So as I'm going to go recycle something or throw something away, I can scan it and then know which bin it goes into.
Exactly. And it'll that's the nice thing is that we have 2 different databases, one with like location data in terms of like recyclability, and then one with like what the items are and what they're made of. So with that, we can route the same item in different fashions. So in one of our pilots, which I can't say publicly yet, they had 6 different trash haulers on 6 different floors with 6 different bin combinations. So as long as we're told what station is where and what the bins are present, you could scan the same item on 6 different floors and get 6 different results and how to dispose of it correctly on that floor.
Wow, that's
makes
awesome.
my brain hurt.
Oh, it made mine. I've spent 5 months of my life in Excel that I'm not going to get back, but it was worth it.
That's amazing.
Cool. So Paul Russell's asking what's the link to Scrap?
Our website is www.scrap, SCRAPP, and then recycling.com. And then it's available for free on Apple and Google Play. So we actually give out the app for free, which people turn their head and go, well, where's the money? It's like we do more upscale recycling programs, and that's where we make our money in private enterprise.
Tuned, right.
But we feel that recycling is fundamentally like a human right. Like you should know what you can put where, hence why the app is free.
Cool. And it's scraprecycling.com?
Yes, scrap with scrap with 2 P's at the end. It's a pun. So.
Perfect. All right, we got it running across the bottom here, so you should be able to find it.
Like a stock ticker. That's awesome.
Look at that.
There you go. You got to just double check it, make sure I spelled it right. Cool. 2 P's. Awesome. Great. So I think, as we're kind of wrapping up here, Cory, what do you got coming up on your show?
I had a episode release about wine in kegs, which was amazing. And I'm fascinated by the sustainability of that conversion because wine bottles are great, but if in a restaurant setting or at home, if they don't get finished all the way, which believe it or not happens, that wine often goes bad. So this is an opportunity to save money, to lower costs, help the environment, and be more sustainable with reusable kegs. Sorry, it's very loud here. I'm not sure what's going on.
No, that's cool. So a keg versus a wine in a box, right?
Yeah, it replaces like 19 glass bottles, which
Wow.
is incredible.
It's not sexy, but it makes sense.
I mean, it could be.
Yeah.
I would say wine in a keg would take off in New England in a heartbeat.
Especially a home keg, right?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
Mom
sure.
needs a kegerator too, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
There you go.
We have 2 wine fridges in my house.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just had an episode last week with Here Design, who designed the packaging for Glenfiddich's $50,000 whiskey, which was insane in terms of how they developed it. And then this week coming up on Wednesday, just dropping the second half of that, which is really talking about their B Corp status, everything they went through to become a B Corp design agency, and what that actually means. So definitely something to tune into and kind of learn more about B Corp, because I'm seeing a lot of brands moving into that direction. And
we're up for review right now.
Are you?
Corporation status? Yes.
Good.
So
Wow.
we have the score to get it. It's just you have to edit your legal paperwork, and we're in the middle of a fundraising round. We can't edit that paperwork yet, so we're just going to wait till everything's neat and tidy, and then just apply after the fact. So if somebody says their company's a B Corp, it means they actually care. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like a greenwashy symbol. Like,
It's hard work.
that process is incredibly rigorous. Like, I have 3 college students working with me on it as part of like a clinic at my old at University of New Hampshire. And with the 4 of us working on it, we spent a good like 30, 40 hours just in the application alone. And that's because we have the score. If we didn't have the score we'd have to go to the drawing board and develop programs to get that score.
wow, that's insane. Yeah, it's really rigorous. It's super complex. One thing that I'm finding is that B Corps work with other B Corps. Right? Like that's kind of the incentive. So if you want to work with some of these brands and some of these teams that are in B Corp, you might want to look at, applying for B Corp status.
Absolutely. B Corp, being a benefit corporation, i.e. B Corp, will definitely open a lot of doors for you, because between the summits and everything like that, it's a seal of approval saying like these people mean what they mean and they want to do the right thing, which people unanimously trust.
Legit.
Yeah.
And yes, Estera, wine kegs are refillable in perpetuity, which is what's so cool about them and what makes them so sustainable. Great question.
That's awesome. I gotta hunt down a wine keg now. Just
I
pop
ordered-
it in the background.
For testing.
It's almost
Did you really?
Yeah.
So.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Your
All right,
birthday.
I see some green buttons on the table there. What are those green buttons saying
Oh my
today?
gosh.
With
We'll push them.
the easy buttons.
Oh,
Time to take control.
It is time to take
Right.
control.
The rest follows.
that's right. Get the spec right. I love it.
It's awesome. And if anybody's interested in SpecRite, what is the website for SpecRite?
Just www.specrite.com, and it's SPECRIGHT. And we just went through a rebrand about 2-3 weeks ago. So
Really
I have
nice stuff.
the new swag on. Really leaned into the idea that the spec is either right or wrong, right? Very black and white.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think it looks. I mean, our team did an amazing job, and I think the booth looks really good. So.
Amazing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, a rebrand 3 weeks before an expo is bold.
So it's a rebrand before the expo, and then we also have Spec Summit, which happens in January this year. It's in Nashville, which is our big conference that we put on around spec management. And so there were a lot of deadlines for them to hit right before all of this was happening. So it's very exciting to see it all launched and just look really amazing.
Well done.
Awesome. Great, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm just going to throw up here real quick. I'm not going to throw up, but I'm just going to put up here really quick. We got Cory Connors with Sustainable Packaging Podcast, right?
Yep.
And you can find that podcast where?
Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, all the majors.
Awesome. And then we got Adam Peak with
People
packaging.
Yeah.
Yep. And then, of course, me, Evelio Mattos, with Packaging Unboxed. If you want to learn about sustainable packaging, Cory's the guy. He's got a lot of information there, a lot of different materials, a lot of different solutions. Interested in just the overall business of packaging, you've got Adam Peak. bringing in like new teams, talking about new ways to sell packaging, just a lot of information. We talk a lot about what SpecRite's doing. We definitely appreciate what Mickey, your team's doing. What's your Twitter handle?
I actually don't have a Twitter. So,
what was your? Well, didn't you have like a big ham?
The
oh yeah,
Italian
my Instagram handle is @ItalianHam. So
There you go.
My last name is Guido, and people don't pronounce it right at all until I say it's like the deli meat, but just drop the R. And they're like prosciutto. I'm like, there you go.
Yeah.
They're like, oh. It's funny. My name actually translates in Italian to like the strong and the well-fed. Like my like family back in Italy was all like farmers and like workers, but I'm Italian ham here. That's what it boils down to.
I love it.
Awesome. So you can find us pretty much everywhere at this point. Appreciate it. Appreciate Paul saying the good show. Everybody that's hopped on here, Hugh, Esteta, Diana, like everybody. We've had a great turnout today. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll be back next week with more good packaging news.
Thank you.
Awesome, guys.
Bye,
We'll wrap this
everyone.
up here.
Bye.
See ya.
Thanks, guys.
Live from Studio 3, this is Packaging Today with Evelio Mattos.